We've come a long way with, with 12 kids, and now we have 24 kids in the foundation. In the beginning, our big aim was to expose these kids to former players and to specialists in strength and conditioning, mental conditioning, nutrition, and the eye gym. The plan this year for the foundation is to start creating more opportunities where we can give these kids travel grants so they can travel not just to Africa but get the exposure that they need in Europe and in America. Hopefully by the end of the year we'll be able to send a group of the Matchpoint Foundation kids to go and play in the Orange Bowl and Eddie Her. And before that there's a lot of tournaments that these kids are playing, and any financial help that we can provide for these kids, that is the plan where we're going to do. The Matchpoint Foundation is very proud of the players and the private coaches that's involved.
I was taken to the Matchpoint Foundation about 2 years ago. It really changed the way I see tennis, the way I play on court. It gave me an awful lot of opportunities. It made me think more on court. It taught me stuff. It taught me about how to enjoy tennis more, about more than just hitting the ball. It's about fitness, it's about mental, it's about eating habits, it's about the way you feel when you step on court. I met a lot of great people that have done a lot in their careers, that taught me different things. They taught me how they made it onto the tour. I think the most important thing that I got taught from the Matchpoint Foundation is that everybody have a different development path. My mother and my father are the two most supportive people in my team. My mother always likes to say she is my biggest cheerleader. They do a lot for me. On the up days, where I'm doing well, they are happy with me. They celebrate with me when I do well. And when I'm having a down day, they sit with me and they go through all my problems and they throw the pity party with me. And we eat a bucket of ice cream maybe and we feel better.
Now, Rista is a daddy's daughter. I mean, I love her so much, and I think I'm so blessed to have a wonderful relationship with my daughter. I think we are so close to each other. We enjoy the tennis, we enjoy being on the road, taking road trips to the tournaments, we enjoy going to movies together.
I'm a type 1 diabetic. I was diagnosed in 2015. With my diagnosis, I almost died. And when I woke up there, I knew that my life changed forever. Tennis was my passion before I was diagnosed, but afterwards I decided that I'm not going to stop with my passion in life just because I now have a condition that makes things a bit more difficult. Type 1 diabetes definitely brings the challenges with. You have so much more to worry about, you have so much more to look after, but I feel like in the end it makes me a much stronger person. It made me see life in a different perspective.
When we found out she was diabetic, it was a great shock for all of us. I think for any parent it's a huge shock. I think you always think what could you have done beforehand. On the one hand, initially you think there's something you could have done to prevent it. I think as time goes on, you realize it's not possible. It's nothing that you as a parent or as a child or as a grandparent or anything do wrong for your child to become a diabetic. I think so. And then it's the adjustment, and then you start living with it, and you start building your life, and you understand how it works, and you carry on, and you be as normal as possible. Dealing with it on a daily basis. I think the most important thing is that you realize as soon as possible there's no recipe. You have to take it day by day.
The main thing that we have to concentrate on continuously is keeping your blood sugar levels balanced, that it doesn't drop or go too high. That is done through obviously correct medication and then correct food, but especially the portion sizes. And those two needs to connect. Otherwise, basically, she won't be able to play an optimal game because the sugar is either too high or too low. So there's a little bit of an extra responsibility on her in the terms of that she has to think a little bit harder about food. That's to her advantage, I think, at the end of the day. If all the players would be in that situation where I can get them to think a little bit harder about food, I think it would be easier for them to also make better choices. She's forced through the type 1 diabetes to make those choices, so I think at the end of the day there's a little bit of advantage for her in this whole process as well.
Yeah, I think for us Nikki was a lifesaver because there's a lot of opinions and views about what a diabetic should eat, not eat. And for us, we had to find something that works for us, making sure that Arista takes in enough carbs every day, and at the same time that the blood sugars doesn't go too high of all the carbs, but still that she has enough energy to be able to be on court every day. And then obviously once we're in tournament mode and we play tournaments, that we actually have the energy to maintain a whole 4 or 5 days of tournaments.
Amongst the other things I love doing is reading. I've been reading since I was 3 years old, and I love meditating. It makes me relax a lot.
So you can talk about
My biggest goal in tennis is probably to go play college tennis for Stanford University and study there. I've wanted to go there since I was little. It's my favourite university, not only is the women's tennis really good, the only thing I want to do is be the best player I can become.
Talking about food. Your metabolism after like 22 or 23 years being alive.
A nutritionist or dietitian basically look at teaching people how to make healthier food choices, and the healthier food choices basically is at the goal of that works with the client's goals. So it can either be because of health reasons that we need to change the way we're eating, or it can be because of performance in the case of sports people, that through eating certain things you can enhance performance, or sometimes it can be because we need to change the anthropic. In other words, we must help people to either decrease fat percentage or increase their muscle, and therefore we must eat a certain way. So that is what most of it entails. So it's basically educating them about the choices, but also help them in terms of the practical implication and the practical application of what they need. With the Matchpoint Foundation, my relationship with them is helping their people then that's incorporated in the foundation to do better food choices. So most of the time I work one-on-one with the athletes incorporated in the foundation. The importance of nutrition in a tennis player, or any athlete for that matter, is that's the only fuel source we have. So nutrition, or what we eat, is basically, that is the petrol in the tank. So therefore we need to teach them what is good petrol and what is bad petrol in the tank. And good or bad, not necessarily concentrating on good or bad food, but telling them what is going to last longer, what is going to be a short period of time, what is going to give you a lot of power, what is going to fuel only low power activities. And we need, at the end of the day, the kid to be able to predict this. So this is quite a process we need to go through. So is it necessary then to give them strict instructions about how much, specifically of what food, specifically at what time? They're too young. It's a process, so we don't give all that information all at once. So what we usually start off with is, or my principle is usually we correct first of all volume of food. So I need to know there's an energy balance. Even if the food quality is not perfect, so even if I eat a white thing instead of a whole grain thing initially, I'm not too worried as long as we eat enough. I think there's so much information out there where people tell kids not what to eat, and therefore what sometimes happens is they stop eating so they don't get enough energy from that. That's the one thing. The other thing then is, after fixing the volume so that they have energy balance, so now they've got energy to train hard, then we fix the quality. So now we talk about, should it be product A versus product B, and what is in product A that's maybe better, what is in product B that's better, so we teach them to make better decisions. Remember, a lot of these food choices happens when they're on the road.
When I toss the ball in a straight line and I don't throw it right.
So if I prescribe something and it's not there, the question is, what do we do? And then at the next point, then in these steps, we will then concentrate quite a bit on timing of food intake. So when to put the petrol, when to refuel the petrol, those kind of things. And then we will go and fine-tune absolutely everything. The foundation makes it easy because we've got continuous contact with the kids. So therefore this, it makes it easy to give little bits of information over a longer period of time. Where with other kids that I only see once, where I have to obviously give all this information at once, sometimes it's necessary to illustrate with a meal plan, but it's not a diet. It's just a meal plan as an illustration of how the distribution of food would be throughout the day.
Stars.
Let's go.
I started tennis from a young age. I was 3 and then it was just a sport the whole family played, so I started playing and I loved it a lot.
She works hard, she's very disciplined and I think she'll make it. She's the best sister I've ever had.
My parents make many sacrifices for me to play tennis and they help me with everything I struggle. They also understand sport because my mom played tennis when I was very young and my dad was a professional rugby. So they understand on me when I play. They just enjoy
it. To embark on the tennis journey, it was important for us to realize that life is not about tennis, but tennis is about life. It was important to teach holistically, and part of that is mental coaching. Tennis is a self-sport these days. The difference between number ones and number twos in the world and the top players are marginal, so it was important for us to understand what the key factors are in terms of performance.
All of us are privileged to have special skills. This is my last one.
I have a mental coach, Yanni Petter, who lives in Pretoria and I live in Bloemfontein. But it's not an obstacle to speak to each other because I just Skype him and ask him a question and then he helps me a lot by, for example, he gave me a confession that I said to myself, and it helps me to stay on the right path and be calmed down and help me with my routines on court and don't get sucked up when I'm stressed when I'm playing a match.
I thoroughly enjoy working with her because she's very sharp. She thinks more than you think she thinks. And when you speak, she listens and she hears more than you think she hears. And that's what I enjoy about her. So we don't have long sessions. My agreement with her is that whenever she's got a question, and that's the way I work. I don't work every week and I have to say to you, okay, we've got to put in a session. It is habit forming. We have to form good habits in thinking. So the more time you spend with somebody, obviously you better spend more time, not in length of period. So if you can spend 10 minutes with somebody every week, it's far more beneficial than spending 1 hour once a month. Because in 5 minutes or in 10 minutes, you can put a thought and you can put a mindset, and if you confirm it the next week and the week thereafter, it becomes a habit, and that's what mental coaching is all about.
Chatting with Uncle Yanni has helped me in my everyday life because, for example, when I fight with my sister, I just remember that the confession he gave me says that we are best friends. And when we fight, I just think of, is that like how a true friend acts? And then we don't then we start fighting. It also helps me with in school. The friends, if we fight, I also just think of my confession, and where it says I'm a better person and I don't go that low and fight with people. Before I met Uncle Yanni, I was very mad on the court. I stressed a lot before matches, but when I started working with him, it was like I just calmed down, and just my routines helped me a lot. For example, the night before my finals, I had a great chat with Uncle Yanni, and we spoke about not focusing on the score, but focusing on the process. And it really helped me, because the next day I was playing in the finals and I was 8-6 down the super tie, but I didn't focus on the score, so I ended up winning.
So cold.
Being a tennis player, I travel a lot, and it's very tough to handle the schoolwork and the tennis. But I take my schoolwork with me on the road, and I do my homework when I get time. But the mental side has taught me to be very disciplined and be calm, so I don't panic when I have to do my homework. And when I come back home, the teachers help me a lot with the work I don't understand.
Responsibility as well, so she doesn't blame anything on anybody else. She is a perfectionist, so she likes to do everything. She had this one assignment that was supposed to be handed in, but we changed the date. But she missed it now, and I said, it's fine, Christine, just do it and hand it in when you have time. I said, well, the fact that you came to me and said there's a memo, well, it says to me you're not going to look at it, so that's just the person she is.
Speak with former tennis players that played at the highest level, and to speak with people that helps me with my strength and conditioning, my nutrition, and planning and everything. And it also gives my coach an opportunity that, like, he goes with me to the camps every time, and it also gives him the opportunity to learn from the coaches, and when we come back we can work on the things we've learned.
The Matchpoint Foundation, I feel, hasn't only helped Christine, it's helped me a lot at my own academy, working with ex-players, working with John Luffney. It's benefited my coaching as well. You can't just be static and do the same things over and over. Then the player will also start being static. So I feel that you get more ideas, you change around more ideas with different coaches and how they see it in a different perspective. So I feel the Matchpoint Foundation has benefited me as well as Christine. On Christine's side, I feel that she's become more secure about what she wants to do on court. She's not that insecure young girl anymore, unsure what to do next. I feel that she's grown a lot, and a belief in her tennis has grown as well.
I was fortunate to travel around Africa and played against the best in Africa, but I realize now that the next step is in Europe and the US. I'm very fortunate that I choose tennis as a sport, because tennis can take you places, but for that you need funding, and there's a lot of people in South Africa that's very talented but don't always have the funding to go to play at the highest levels and to get exposure in the other countries. My greatest achievements have been that I was third in the AJCs, and I won the CAT tournament in Zimbabwe.
Mental coaching has got to do with your way of thinking. I mean, as a human being, you consist of three parts: body, mind, and spirit. The body is the lowest form. The body is controlled by the mind is controlled by the spirit. So many people are afraid to go to the spiritual dimension because it's not known, it's not visible, you can't see it, although we are aware of it.
Mental side, mental coaching, he's very experienced. He works on the line at the moment. He works with the Bulls. Okay, why not? Let's go for this dream, but are you willing to pay the price? Because there's a price to be paid for this.
Accidents that happen and events that happen where people accomplish amazing things, that their body just go totally beyond where they could have gone before. And it's because that situation just needed that
pay this price without me being involved to live his dream. Because my dream was what I'm doing right now.
So our minds are truly incredibly strong, and our bodies can do much more than we can think of sitting here constantly. And mental coaching is literally helping somebody to unlock the potential that's within all of us, to use our bodies and to perform magnificent tasks.
Okay, so that's the right spot.
I started as CEO of Tennis South Africa towards the end of 2016, so I'm still quite new to the role, but my biggest challenge has actually been about learning about the structures of tennis in South Africa and how everything works. So we've actually put a vision or growth strategy document on the website. So that vision is freely available, but in very, very simple terms, it's looking at tennis in 4 key areas. It's looking at tennis from an interest perspective, it's looking at tennis from a participation perspective, from a high performance perspective, and then from a business sustainability perspective. And really all 4 are linked, because if you look at interest, and that's where the majority of tennis fans in this country sits, that's probably the bulk of where tennis people are. So those are people who watch Wimbledon religiously every year on SuperSport. Who don't necessarily Participation is very much about the clubs and schools and your general tennis players. High performance is your Kevin Andersons and your top juniors. And then the sustainability perspective is obviously creating a sustainable business model for the federation that allows us to invest in our structures in participation level, and our structures at high performance. And so that's really what we're focusing on, those 4 areas.
Thank you for all that you have done. We thank that you...
Kan jy my verteenwoordigen in hoe...
Go quickly.
The future success of tennis begins and ends with our coaches in terms of the quality of our coaches. And don't get me wrong, there's some very, very skilled South African coaches, both in this country but also internationally as well. And that we have a lot of coaches who are coaching at the very, very highest level internationally. And so I think moving forward, what we need to do is really embrace those coaches, because a lot of them are also ex-players, so they have a lot of value to add as well. So really embrace that intellectual capital that sits overseas, but also sits in this country as well. But at the same time, really look at our coaching structure so that we are creating opportunities for coaches to really develop and grow. And one of the first things that we've actually done in the last few months is we've created what we call centers of apprenticeship for coaches. If you look at sports in this country and you look at how sport is divided by gender, particularly at school, if you're a boy at school, you have multiple options to choose from in terms of sport. But for girls in this country, the options are pretty limited. What the task force is doing is it's looking at 3 specific areas. It's looking at schools tennis, and on trying to answer some critical strategic questions. One of the most critical strategic questions is how do we get more girls playing tennis at school? The second critical question it's asking for at school level is how do we get more black girls playing at school? So that's the first work stream. The second work stream is looking at the general participation of tennis from a women's perspective. And it's looking at how do we keep more female players playing tennis after they've left school, which is quite a fundamental question, because that's what feeds your university's tennis, what feeds your club's tennis, etc. And then from a high performance perspective, the high performance is the third work stream. It's looking at how do we create more high performance female players, but critically how do we keep the high performance players that we do have in the system for longer. Because what happens is a lot of our best female players get a college bursary in the US, they go and study in the US, and then they're lost to us. They either stay in the US or they give up tennis or whatever. So those are really the three key work streams that the Women's Task Force is looking at.